My biggest thing is I never wanted to ever be boxed in. I don't want someone to come in here and be like, oh, you guys are like early 2000s shop. You got like, that's cool. I like all that, but I don't want to be known as that. You know, I just want to be known as like, hey, they have cool stuff. Like you should come through. And man, we've gotten so many referrals like, hey, my friend said I should come check this shop out. And that is cool as hell to us. That means everything to me, man. You know what I mean? Because me as growing up, I'd have never thought I owned anything like this, bro. I never thought we'd be doing anything like this. Like, all this stuff is ours. Like, we come in here and I'm like, still to this day, I'm like, I can't believe all this stuff is ours. You know what I
mean? What's up, guys? Welcome to Fatherhood 365, Episode 3. I'm your host, Dion, here with your co-host, Jamel. And today we have a very special guest, father, entrepreneur, husband, one half of Mom and Dad Vintage, the best curated shop in LA, Mr. Nick Flanigan.
Appreciate y'all, hell yeah.
Let's start from the beginning. Take us back to childhood. What was childhood like for you?
Yeah, man. So I am from 10 brothers and sisters. I'm right in the middle. My childhood was good, man. It was very good. Looking back on it, you know, it's like, damn, how did we do that? And I remember fucking my grandma making food while smoking a cigarette over the stove. You know what I mean? But again, that was just, and she'd make, when we had dinner, it'd be like 15, 16 hamburgers, and it'd be everybody coming in, grabbing a burger and doing this, you know, and cream of wheat, bro. I ate that shit every Saturday with a loaf of bread toasted. You know what I mean? And it was like Jenga. Those things just, you know, went. You know what I mean? So it was, growing up, man, in the childhood was super chaotic, super untraditional. But honestly, like, you know, those are the memories we talk about now amongst us and literally just laugh, bro, and be like, man, I can't believe we did this or we were doing that, you know?
It's so funny, too, because, you know, most people would think, oh, man, 10 brothers, 10 sisters, however many people, 10 kids, and be like, oh, that must have been a horrible experience. But they don't realize, man, so much love must have been in their house. I mean, absolutely. Arguments, fights, back and forth, and just fun times that, like you said, you guys now can think back on and laugh about and just cherish those moments. It means so much, man. And talk to me about some more memories that just really stick out to you. What are some of those things where you can just look back and be like, man, dude, this was just such an amazing or bad experience?
Sure, yeah. You know, so we lived in an apartment and my dad had his own house maybe 8 minutes away. And it wasn't so much like, yo, that's my dad's house and this is our apartment. It was just like, yo, this is grandma's house and this is where we stay. And, you know, my dad was doing his own thing and that's where we left it at. You know, like we are always told like, hey, your dad's in construction and why question that? Like, that's what, you know, what it was. Okay, you know, and my dad would give me $100 every weekend to go to Toys R Us, bro. I was buying Nintendo 64 games. I had so many. I had like 45 Nintendo 64 games, bro.
Was he just giving you 100 or did he give
I was the only one. I was the only one that asked,
news.
Bro. Yeah. I was the only one that asked, dude.
So when your brothers and sisters hear this, they're going to be like,
dude,
oh,
you know
man.
what? I was really the only one into games, dude. And I was like the test kid, meaning like, my dad had money at the time, so it was like, hey, his ears are too big. Go take him to a doctor and get them fixed. You know what I mean? And like, hey, his feet are flat. Go take him to the doctor and get them fixed. You know what I mean? So that's what they did. I literally have arches in my feet and pins in my ankles and all that. And honestly, I was this kid that would run all day and have fun all day, never played games, never was into that shit. And then once I had that done, I kind of, you know, got into Nintendo and that was my thing. And it was 6 months on this leg. And then as soon as this leg got strong enough, it was 6 months on this leg, bro, you know? Wow. Man, you know, birthdays were amazing, dude. It never was like, hey, we got you a cake, let's all sing happy birthday. It was like, hey, my dad bringing me around his friends and his friends all fucking reach in their pocket, bringing out 20s and 100s, and, you know, and these are fucking, you know, drug dealers and killers and you know what I mean? Fucking yeah, and they're right there like, hey, happy birthday, you know? And I'm like, man, these guys are sweet.
Yeah,
like
awesome.
There's no way these guys are mean, you know what I mean? And I think that's always something we remember growing up. And you know, especially my dad's gifts, he'd come and show up with a box and it would be a huge box and it'd be 6 drawing papers and notebooks and markers and glitter and all this stuff. Cause you know, I like to draw and all that when I was younger. And those are the things I remember. Just, you know, it wasn't even wrapped. It was just this huge box and it was like, happy birthday, you know, like let's cut the cake. And that was it. You know, Vegas, we go to Vegas for, man, a week in the summer, 2 weeks, and it was like FAL Shorts was inside Caesar's Palace, bro. And I remember having so many damn memories at FAL Shorts. You know what I mean? Like, I remember going back to school and they're like, "What'd you guys do this summer?" And everyone's like, "Oh, we went camping. We went here." I'm like, "Oh, I went to Vegas." You know what I mean? Like, and it was cool, you know? So that was definitely like a lot of my childhood, bro. Very rinse and repeat, but yeah, that was it, man.
You said that when your dad would bring you around on your birthday, that everyone in his circle would kind of like dig in their pockets. And one thing I was always jealous of was how organized Hispanic gangs were, as opposed to like black gangs, because I never really had that. When it was my birthday, it was the, "Oh, what's up? Oh, it's your birthday. Ah, that's dope, little man." And that would be about it, you know. And
Get
I got
together.
and or don't. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So like when he passed, it was kind of like easy for me to like just disappear from that lifestyle and stuff. And not to say I didn't look up for my dad or look up to my dad, because I did. There was a lot that I respected about it. But for you, how did that kind of shape the way that you looked at your dad? Since it was kind of good in a sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, we didn't know my dad was a gang member or did any of that stuff. You know, like we were always told, "Hey, your dad works in construction. Your dad does this." And again, there was nothing to ever like question it, because my dad was, you know, buying houses, and I would see houses being built, and like. So 2 and 2 together, I'm just like, yeah, this is what he does. You know, people would ask me at school, like, "What does your dad do?" And I, like, all the way up to like 9th grade, I was like, construction. You know what I mean? Because that's really what it was, you know. And my dad, he never glorified that. My dad, what's funny is, like, you know, I see a lot of people, and when they think of, you know, Hispanic gangs and all that, they think of like Dickies and, you know, lowriders and all that. My dad wasn't like that, bro. My dad was wearing Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, you know what I mean? Like new shoes. My dad's the total opposite. You know, he ain't doing none of that type shit. He wears sweats all day and, you know, Crocs, you know what I mean? But back then my dad was buying new Nikes once a week, you know, fresh socks. Like that's what I seen, and I never seen like creases in his pants, you know what I mean? Like fresh white shirts, fresh stuff like that, and I always seen my dad have an aura around him that was like everyone gravitated towards him, you know what I mean? And not in like, oh man, fear or nothing like that. It was love, bro. Like I remember there was times, you know, he'd come around, and if the ice cream man was there, he would buy everybody an ice cream. You know what I mean? And I remember he took us all on bike rides, and there's like 25 kids on bikes following him, and we're just going through the city. You know what I mean? And that's the stuff I remember, dude. And this day, like if I go outside and there's 3 or 4 kids on the ice cream truck, I'll buy their ice cream, bro. You know what I mean? I've been in places where there's a kid in front of me, and either they didn't have the money or it didn't happen. I'm like, I got it. You know what I mean? Like, what do you want? Get more.
It's really cool to see that it's not just what you're passing to your son, it's who you are in total. But I would like to ask, you know, what influence did your dad have on you that you're directly passing down to your son?
Sure. You know, I want to say definitely leadership, man. Also, my dad always wanted to get into everything, and, you know, whether it was collectibles or, you know, cars or houses, and, you know, but the biggest thing was my dad let me like do whatever I wanted to growing up from the time I was young, even to like when I was a teenager. And it was like, you know, I remember, you know, when kids would say, like, it sounds so cliche, but they'd be like, "You're so lucky, like your dad don't care," and shit like that. You know what I mean? And, you know, my dad would be like, "It's not that, like, don't think I don't care. It's I trust you, you know, like I trust you, and you're going to make the right decision and know what you do, and you know what's right and wrong. So why would I not allow it?" You know, and my dad always took it as like, you don't have to sneak out the house. Just tell me where you're going. You know what I mean? Like, let me know, you know, you don't have to lie. Just let me know where you're going. Let me know where you'll be. And, you know, we'll go from there.
One thing I like about, you know, even though your father had his own life and lived in his own world, he never let that influence you and your brothers and sisters.
Oh, absolutely.
It kind of was like, this is who I am.
Right.
But I'm going to show you guys who I am in a loving, caring way. And same with his friends. So I honor that and respect that, because not everyone grows up understanding that there's different routes that you can take, right? But he never let that influence who you guys was. And it seemed like you took a lot of the positive things that he did, and it, like you said, it became a part of who you was. And I can relate to that, because my dad was the same man, where it's like, he didn't wear baggy clothes, but he was a drug dealer. My dad got murdered, got shot 9 times on a drug deal. Like he was one of those guys, Porsche truck, nice clothes, very put together. And I didn't know for the longest time that's who he was.
Sure.
It's really cool to see that you guys are kind of like the highlight tapes of your fathers. You really pulled the best qualities, you know, like from who your dad was. What was the first moment for you when you found out, like when you first found out that you were having a kid?
So when we found out we were pregnant, we were trying to get pregnant, and her doctor said that she has endometriosis. So her doctor was like, "You're never gonna have kids. Like, it's just not gonna happen, bro. You know, if you do, like, oh, great, but you're just not gonna do it. You know." And again, we never were huge on like, "Hey, let's plan and do this." And you know, she came back very emotional that day, and it was like I even told her like, "Don't worry about it, bro. Like, no big deal. Like, if that's not supposed to happen, like." Don't trip, like we're good, you know. So for about 6 months we're trying to still have the kid and all that, and then one day, and there was a few times she's like, I think I'm pregnant, and she wasn't. Not like on a miscarriage, she just was like, oh, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like I took the test, I'm not pregnant. And then there was the time where she was like, I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant. She took the test, she came out, and you know, she started crying and was like, I'm pregnant. And it was more of like, you know, I'm like worried, scared, you know. And me, I didn't cry, bro. I was just more like, damn, okay, like didn't know what I was in for. You know what I mean? Like cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like awesome. Hell yeah. Like I love you.
I think most dads don't know what
yeah,
they're
like
for.
Awesome.
I didn't sleep the first 2 nights. And it's crazy because we had just got married and I always wanted to be a dad. Like like that was like all of my friends are like, Mel's probably gonna be the one to actually get married and have a kid. That was me. But my wife, she didn't even like tell me. She kind of like planned to tell me and stuff because we definitely like we conceived, I would say, a month after we got married, bro. We were on it like right away. And she came into the room and like had like a little gift, like I have a gift for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's not my birthday. Like,
right.
So I look inside and it's her positive pregnancy test.
Yeah.
And it kind of like hit me. I was like, wow, I always wanted this moment. Like this is all I wanted. And I was not excited. I was kind of like, dang. And it was a weight that I never felt before. Bro, the first 2 nights, I couldn't sleep. I'm just staring at the ceiling like, wait, I'm still going to be a dad. Like, what the heck? After those 2 nights, I was excited.
Not gonna stop you.
Exactly. But after those first 2 nights, it kind of like sat in and I'm like, all right, for sure. Like bring it on. So how did it feel when you found out you were having a boy?
My brother named his son Nick. So that was awesome, dude. I'm like, hell yeah. Like me and my older brother, the one that's 3 years older than me, we've always been like the ones that live together. And, you know, we're always like, again, my older brothers and sisters, they're close, them two. Then it's me and my brother. Then it kind of trickles down. You know what I mean? So he named his son Nick and I was like, damn, that's awesome. You know, like, you know, very cool. I love that. Like, and I was like, now I don't have to name my son Nick. You know what I mean? So it worked out really well. And then just one day, like a month before he was born, I was like, hey, what do you kind of think of the name Goldie? And my partner was like, I love it. Like, I really love it. And then like 2 weeks before I was born, my little sister was like, what if you named him Carrot, like the middle name, but named him like Karat, like 24 carats and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, like that's sick. I love that. And we just decided then it was like, his name will be Goldie Carrot Flanagan. And you know, my dad didn't mind, my mom, nobody minds. It's like, you know, the grandparents are like, Goldie, like, what the hell? You know what I mean? You know, so, yeah, you know, so, yeah, when I found out I was having a son, dude, we were super hyped, you know, more as hyped as we would have been if it was a girl. You know
Where did
I mean?
Goldie come from? Did
Dude, so, there's this huge popular DJ in the 90s, and his name's Goldie, and he was with Bjork for a long time, and he's like this very swaggy ass, like, UK DJ, gold teeth, like, was wearing Stussy in the 90s before that shit was huge, you know, and again, we've always been, like, kind of fans, and we never even thought twice about it, but just I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And my partner was like, yeah, I love it.
This is something I really want to ask, and I think I want to ask everybody this situation because I want to know your answer. What was the hospital experience like for you when you guys went to the hospital and she was pregnant?
Yeah.
And you were like, it's time. What was that like for you?
Well, you know what? So my son didn't want to come out, bro. He wanted to stay in there. I think we were like 3 weeks over the due date, 4 weeks over the due date. Wow. Yeah, and it was nothing. We were doing everything we could too. You know, they tell you to do all this different type of shit, and we're doing it, but he's just not coming out. There's no water breaking. They were going to doctor's appointments. They're like, hey, we can fucking see he's healthy and all that, you know. And then it was finally like, okay, we're just gonna what's it called? Induce. We're gonna induce your partner come in on a Wednesday. So you go in that motherfucker knowing
it's
you're
game
coming
time.
out. I got the car seat in the back. You know what I mean? Like
Showtime.
we're parked in the maternity spot, you know, and you know what? It was really, really good. It was me and my partner. The only ones were there. That's the way she wanted it. I had no problem with that. And they induced her on Wednesday. She ended up having the baby the next day. So, you know, I thought labor is like, you know, the whole time they're pushing, but labor is just like it leading up to it. You know what I mean? And the pushing part lasts like for like an hour or two. You know what I mean? Which in my case, that's what it was. You know, so. So she was in labor, but was only pushing for about an hour, bro. And we didn't do any of the classes. We didn't go to Lamaze, and we didn't get a doula, and we didn't do any of that. Just because, you know, we just dove into this shit, bro. And like the biggest advice everybody kind of gave us, like, was like, you don't need advice. There is no advice.
Yeah,
like,
there's
nothing.
Those men and women out there that plan on having kids that never have had kids, there's nothing anyone can tell you, a book, none of that. This is going to be a lifelong learning experience.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I agree 100% with that.
But so my wife is the most organized person I've ever met, probably on the planet. Like when it comes to vacations, itinerary, like we know exactly what we're gonna do by the second. Like that's how organized she is. So we had a planned induction, like not from the jump, but as soon as we found out that was something, we were like, all right, cool, because it lined up with what I could do at work, where for me to take paternity leave, I had to like give them a specific date.
Wow. Okay.
So I didn't want to take paternity leave and then the baby not even come out, and I'm just like miss time off work for no reason. So we knew, like again, all right. I think it was actually June 28th that we actually planned it, but she was in labor for like, I think it was 32 or 36 hours.
Okay. Yeah.
However, she only pushed for like 5 minutes.
Right. Wow.
And
right.
But honestly, dude, for me, like my wife is such a trooper. She's honestly like stronger and tougher than I am, because I was a wimp about the whole thing, bro. Like it was not tight. Like the room we were in, like again, this is coming right off of COVID. So my daughter was born in 2021.
Right.
So
dang, that's a whole
yeah, so
different
like
experience.
it was just us, and my mom was like coming back and forth and like checking in and stuff, but it was just like we were in a room, there were no windows. Like I don't know, and then it sucked
Like a
because
prison cell.
like
Yeah.
we had to get to the hospital at 4 a.m. So we didn't sleep that night before.
Sure.
And just throughout the day, it was really, really tough. And I was trying my best to like to support her, because she don't like needles and she don't like getting blood drawn.
Right,
and obviously that's all it was, you
Yeah.
know. So I was seeing things I had never seen before. I mean, obviously I've seen every inch of my woman's body before,
Absolutely.
but seeing it in that way, it was a lot. But I was still trying to be strong, and it was just tough. But she was a trooper, you know.
Sure,
Like
yeah,
like
absolutely.
she was tough. Like I'm the one that was trying to like go to sleep and stuff,
Right, right.
and she was just excited the whole time.
Right.
And by the time it was like time to push, I finally was excited and stuff. And dude, I sent a text to her dad. I'm like, all right, she's going to push. Before he got a chance to reply back, the baby was already here. Like my daughter was already here, you know. So
How
so
did you
yeah.
guys feel on that initial moment when you first saw your child? Because I know for me, like, it felt like instant love, bro.
Sure.
Like immediately, I was like, yo, this is me. So
Sure.
like, what was that feeling like for you? Like, how
Yeah.
did you feel on that?
Yeah, so when Goldie was born, you know, the doctor's like, "Hey, you want to like?" They don't ask you.
You
They're
weren't
like-
in the room?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're like,
How
"Dad,
did
come
not-
over here." Like,
Yeah.
come over here in the front. And I'm like, all right, yeah,
He
like,
said,
you know, like
front
no
row
problem with
seats.
me. You know what I mean? So like, I'm right there. You see his head, you see the hair. You're like, damn, okay. Like he comes out, boom, fucking, they're, you know, doing their thing. They work on him. Everything's great. You know, starts crying. You're like, again, I don't know what they're supposed to do. I don't
know what's right or wrong.
Yeah, I don't know, like, you know, what's going on, you know? And again, like, side note, like, I was the guy that was like, you know, the very first months, like telling new dads, like, oh man, like this and this. And now, like 15 months in, I'm like, I don't give any advice. I'm like, you're cool. Your kid can be maybe the easiest fucking baby around, or they can be like mine, where he is on one all times. Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? So you'll have to find out, you know what I mean? Like, you just have to know. My friends are pregnant right now, and I'm like, hey, my biggest thing, my advice to them was, while you're pregnant, do everything you can. Travel, go places, do it all right now. Not because you won't be able to, but you'll be in the house for like 2 or 3 months, just get tired of going out, get tired of doing stuff. So when you are in the house, you're
taking a break.
like, yeah, oh, we're good on all that. You know what I mean? And
Right.
we stayed in the house for 3, 4 months. Obviously, we went on like walks and stuff like that. And it was February when he was born, so it was cold. Man, I've never been to the mall so much in my life, bro. Like, you know what I mean? We were going to the mall. We were at Nordstrom's all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, just on some like to get out
Get
the house
outside,
to like feel something, have a car ride and all that. But yeah, when I first saw my son, dude, it was very cool. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what's normal, what's not normal. And yeah, they're like, she went skin to skin with my partner for like an hour, and then she handed him to me and. She's like, take your shirt off. And I'm like, nah, you know what I mean? Like, no, like probably not, So, but again, that's where I see my dad. Like, none of that shit matters to me. Like, this is my boy, you know what I mean? And whether I have a puffer on, you know what I mean? Like, nothing's going to change, you know what I mean? And
my shirt off.
yeah, like I got him, we're good, you know what I mean? And her mom was there, and her mom is super supportive and shit, and it was great. And then we went from this total opposite. We had a great room, a huge room, and it was amazing. Kaiser was amazing. And then they put you in this little ass room, I'm like, I'd rather have had the baby in here.
Bro, I like
And then go into the big room.
See, I was like, I'd rather have the baby in the second room and then chill in the big ass room. You know what I mean? So the first one they put you in, it's small, it's loud in there, and man, they get you, bro, because when the baby starts crying, a nurse comes in, they wrap them up, they chill, and you're like, oh, okay. And then they send you home with a packet of papers you can barely read, and they're like, okay, bye. And you're like, all right. And everybody's like, well, that's good, you got sent home, like that means the baby's healthy. And you're like, all right, yeah, I'm at my house with the baby on a Tuesday, and let's get it popping. You know what I mean?
Showtime. It's the real game.
And then you have the doctor's appointment like 3 days later, and they're like, how often are you feeding the baby? We're like, when he cries, they're like, oh no, like every 2 hours you're supposed to be feeding your kid. And I'm
that's
like,
something I didn't know either.
I'm like, yeah, how the fuck am I? Like, I'm supposed to read that black and white papers? Like, I thought that was like.
It was in the pamphlet?
Yeah, I was like, I thought
didn't
that
even
was
open
scratch paper.
I didn't
you know what I
open
mean?
that.
Like, once yeah, bro. So when I saw my kid, it was great, dude. It was like he's ours, and I think the thing was like, okay, it's us in here, and we just gotta like survive now. We gotta make it, and then that was my thinking. You know what I mean? Like,
how was that first 2 month period after it's like, all right, the hype is all over. Now it's time to actually parent this ball of joy.
Right. The first 2 months, it's crazy. When you're a dad, when you become a dad, a parent, a mom, whatever, like, you're not allowed to like say it's hard. You know what I mean? That's what's crazy. Like, you can have a dream job and you could say it's hard, and people are like, yeah, I understand, but you're working towards this and this. But if you tell your dad, if you're a dad and they're like, how's it going? You're like, man, it's hard. They're like, oh, wow. Is everything okay? Where you're like, everything's okay. It's just hard. 2 + 2 is hard until we understand what it means. You know what I mean? So this shit is hard because I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I can change a diaper, I can feed the baby, but there's things that are out of your control that, that you need to learn fast, bro. And there is no like time. You can definitely make mistakes, bro, but you got to correct them quick. And what I tell everybody is like, me and my partner, we would, of course we'd be at each other's necks at times, but it was like, yo, this shit has to last 5 minutes and get over it. Me, I have to get over it, you have to get over it, and we just gotta keep it moving, bro. We can't hold grudges, we can't do nothing.
I wanna tap into that because again, I say the first 2 months because that's when the excitement and the love turns into responsibility. Sure. And it's like grandparents can stay in that honeymoon phase, but it's like, no, we gotta like take care of this.
Absolutely.
And I remember like the baby would be crying, and just little things would just kind of like set me and my wife off.
Sure.
And if it wasn't for this video, and I don't really do social media, but I'm glad I saw this one video, so it could be positive at times. And they were like, there's something that triggers parents when their baby's crying. It's like something. It was something scientific that they had mentioned, and I was like, oh, so it's not just me having anger issues or my wife just like going through something. It's actually something that makes us want to solve the problem.
Right.
So it just heightens us.
Right.
And that kind of actually like relaxed me. And I'm like, okay, so it is normal. It's just our way of being like primal and possessive because this is all new to us. But it's just, we don't know where to direct this love. It's like our baby's crying. We don't know what to do. I love her so much, but the trash needs to get taken out,
Sure,
and there's just
sure.
so much going on, so that was really, really tough.
Absolutely.
And fortunately, it got way easier after the second month, but those first 2 months, dude, I'm
Brutal.
like,
Yeah,
I don't know
they're
what to
crazy.
do. Like,
Yeah.
My first son, Ian, we had him in Chicago. I had my mom, I had her mom,
Sure,
I
sure.
had her sister. Like we had family, my sister, my brother. Here in LA, when we had Rady, it was just Jess and I.
Sure.
So the responsibility level just heightened so quickly, so fast, like you're saying. Like I was able to like take a nap when I had Ian. I was able to like
Right.
go outside and get some fresh
Sure.
air. My mom was like, "Yo, just clear your mind, blah blah blah." Now it's like you have to be locked in.
Oh,
And you're
definitely.
right. I think you hit the nail on the head. 5 minutes go past. After that, you guys got to get right back to
Yeah.
figuring out, okay, how do we handle this situation?
dude, I kind of wanted that though.
Sure.
Like, I wanted it to just be us. I didn't want so much help because at the time I was very, very insecure on
Sure.
what my role actually was.
Sure.
Because my wife, she was breastfeeding, so
Right.
she had everything on lock. And I'm not
Absolutely.
saying she didn't need me, but I felt like I was just assisting my wife
Right,
rather than
right.
like being whatever I thought being a dad was going to be. So I didn't really know what to do, and it was almost like I would rather my daughter cry and me try to figure it out than grandma or grandpa come
Sure,
over and help us
sure.
out and say, "Oh no, you're supposed to do this." Because now I'm like, does that mean I'm less than? Like,
Right,
what does that
right,
mean
right.
for me?
Yeah, it was tough, man. For me, like I'm like so happy I had that because I was
Yeah.
like a deer with in the headlights with my
Sure,
head cut
sure,
off, bro.
sure.
Like I had no idea. I think I was like 20, and I
Right,
was like
yeah.
in college, and like I had no clue. I was trying to figure out myself. Like you're much further along than I was
Right,
back then,
right,
Germ.
right.
Like so, just mature and everything. But yeah, it was a crazy, crazy time for me. For you, let me ask you this, dude. Like having a new child, what was some of the things that surprised you about fatherhood? Like in these last, 12 months or so, like
Sure.
what was surprising for you?
Sure. You know what? The surprising thing was I've always been a pretty patient, like laid back person. I've always been able to adapt, to situations, whether, good or bad, and I think with this, like I thought I was patient until I had a kid and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what patience is. Like, this is like, waiting it out. This is, like understanding, and I even tell a lot of people is like what I think, we supplement whatever our like last generation didn't. So like with my dad, he grew up poor as hell, dirt poor. So the way he knew how to be a father was as long as there's money there, my kids are fine. You know what I mean? Like
right.
that was the way to do it. And now me being a dad, I don't think money no more. I think time. Because my dad was, doing his own thing where I'm like, I'm with my son all the time, bro. Where I've sat there and I'm like, Dad, where the hell were you at? Like, when I was 3 and 4, where were you at, bro? You know what I mean? Like, and again, I know where he was at. I know what he was doing, but, and again, I have no problem saying I was raised by my grandma and my aunts, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it was. And we had a great time doing it. And so now it's like, my whole thing is all about time. I am there with my son. I am playing with him. We are driving together. We are, if my partner can't get him to stop crying, I'm like, look, let me do it. And dude, don't think it's like all the time where I'm like, oh, okay, you're good. There's times where I'm like, damn, like, son, why are you crying?
Right.
You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
Like,
I think we all
what's
experience
going
that.
on? You know what I mean? Shit like that. And I think, yeah, that's been the most surprising thing is learning how much patience this takes, how much time this takes. And dude, honestly, like trying to like not hear the outside voices, not even only family, the internet, you know what I mean? Like the internet can be filled with, this is how I took my 2-month-old to go get coffee. This is how I took my 3-day-old out into the world. And I'm like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like the creativity for me, honestly, too, it stopped. Once I had a kid, my creativeness just stopped. I went from, oh, like I want to make this shirt. Oh, I want to make custom lighters for mom and dad. I want to do this, to not caring about none of that shit, bro. You know what I mean? And I didn't, I barely have started coming along and being like, oh, we should do this and this, but still, like I can feel like it's not all there, and it doesn't make me sad. I'm just like, yeah, I'm different now, and I just don't have that no more. Where I'm like, hey, Lex, what would be a cool like shirt or a cool lighter or this? I don't have that anymore, bro.
Well, one thing I used to tell people is kids will filter out not necessarily the bad, but they'll just filter out things that are unnecessary.
Sure.
And they make you do what you're supposed to do, because
Sure.
that's how I was too. Before I had Riley, dude, I was making T-shirts. I was doing all kind of like he would even tell you, like, I was just making clothes nonstop. I was sewing my own stuff. I was really, really into that. And it's not to say that I don't care about clothes and fashion as much anymore. It's just I care about something more.
Sure.
And I have to be more efficient with my time, and it has to play a role into the family. It can't just be I'm just doing this just because I'm just doing this. And maybe there will come a time, and my daughter's only, well, she's about to be 3.
Right.
So maybe when she's doing her own thing and she's like having her own hobbies, maybe I will dip back into that. But for the first at least 10 years, I got to be efficient with all my time.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what it is that we're going through, because I was that same exact way.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as like memories with Goldie that stand out so far for you, just on a personal, not with the wife, just you and Goldie. Give me something that you just think back to right now, like, yo, that was just such a vibe or a dope memory, or that'll be ingrained and last forever for you.
Right. I love to see him play, dude. He plays and he's in his own world for like an hour. As crazy as he is, a menace as he is, gets into everything. For that 1 hour from 6:30, 6 to 7, 7:30, he is just playing, bro. You know what I mean? And my partner would come out and be like, how come he doesn't put these in the holes and all that? And I'm like, he's 15 months old. Just let him do whatever he wants, bro. Like, and she understands that, where I'm like, just let him, dude. Like, he's never gonna be this young again. He has so much time to learn how to put this ball in this hole. He has so much time to learn how to churn these knobs. Right now, just let him do his thing, dude. And I think that's a huge thing, you know, with the, you know, again, with the internet, where they're like, my 10-month-old knows this, and your 11-month-old should know 50 words. And I'm like, 50 words? I'm like, this guy barely knows how to, like, what a dog does. You know what I mean?
There's adults
like,
that don't know 50 words.
Yeah, like,
Relax.
I'm like, I don't understand that, you know? Like,
yo,
I don't
honestly,
understand the urgency.
Yo, like, draw the line with that as far as expectation as soon as you possibly can, dude. So, like, don't get caught up in thinking, you know what, he needs to be doing this by this time. It's like, all right, maybe we need to buy him a basketball then. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we need to, like, pivot, because every little kid is good at something based on what their interests are. Maybe their interests just aren't in this little bitty thing. We have a few cousins around that had kids around the same age, and I'm like, let's not compare at all. Let them do whatever they're going to do at the age they're going to do it at, because they might all be doing the same exact thing by 10. So, man.
You know what's funny, man? Both of you guys kind of mentioned the same thing about, like, not listening to outside voices or not comparing your kids to other kids. And that's something I had to learn, like, in the last 3 years. Growing up, man, like, comparison was always something in my house and in my family. And, like, I really took that to heart, right? So, like, when I had Ian, like, that was something that I would do just, like, all the time, especially in sports, too. Like, I would always be like, man, look at this kid. Like, he's doing this like this. And I remember Ian told me one day, he's like, Dad, like, I'm not that kid. I'm Ian. And I was like, I had to take a step back and be like, hold on, Dion. Like, he's right.
Advanced, bro.
Yeah, he's right. He checked me, like, in a very polite way. He definitely checked me. And I was like, yeah, man, you're right. You're Ian. And that's kind of when things start to get better. Like, we talked about before we start recording, like, how his movement is when he plays. And, like, that was because I changed my mindset. I stopped comparing him to other people and let him be him. And then he starts to shine more in his own light. And you know, I'm man enough to be able to say I was in the wrong for doing that. And I still need to work on it. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I definitely flipped the switch on, like, comparing my kids to other people. Different. Yo, so with, like, me having, like, 365 Elite, which is my basketball program, us having Fatherhood 365, which is the podcast, Germs venturing in the film space, and, like, really trying to blossom in that role. How do you, as a father, husband, entrepreneur, carve out time and space for all of the things you do and your family? How do you make that balance work?
Yeah, so, man, help for sure. Like, we got help here, and that was our biggest thing. We went through a lot of people, and not that they were bad people, it's just, how do you build something and trust someone to run it like you would? You know, that's the hardest thing, is like being like, did they turn the fridge on? Did they turn the VHS on? Did they sweep the floor? Like, I'm doing, like, this is mine, and I don't mind doing any of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and if I don't mind doing it, why would somebody else? You know what I mean? Like, I think that was been the hardest part. But now, since especially in the earlier parts, it was always hard. My partner had to stay home, and I was coming here and meeting clients. And dude, you know, I didn't always feel great. I always felt like, damn, I'm out the house. Like, I'm almost like having a sigh of relief, like, I got like 2 hours, and that shit made me feel like not great. You know what I mean? I felt like I should be home and I should be, like you said, I should be fucking doing something and tell me what you need. And I was coming here, meeting the client and going right straight back. You know what I mean? And now that our son's getting older, if we're not like, we have shoots, and my partner always says, bring Goldie along. And I'm like, I choose to stay home with him so we can be here. I want to be here with him. Right. You go do that and just do what we do. Make sure the business is running right. Make sure the models are doing great. Make sure the clothes are looking how they're supposed to be looking. And I'll stay here because I know I can do this. Mm-hmm. And when it switches and I go, I'm taking care of it. You don't have to text me, hey, is it working? And I don't have to text you, hey, is Goldie okay? Right. We know what we're going to do, what we're supposed to do. And I think it's came to that, and it didn't start like that. Like I said, when he was a baby, it was hard. It was all me, and I didn't feel pressure like, man, this has to do great, this has to succeed. Not at all, It was just more so like, let me hurry up, do this, and let me get back home. You know what I mean? And now it's like, man, I tell my partner, go out. Go with your friends, do stuff. I got him. You know what I mean? Set up multiple shoots. I have him.
I love that. And I just want to add to that because I think, a lot of people don't realize the most important thing on that is like the communication that you guys have, the understanding that you've built. And like, I think any successful relationship stems from that. Anytime I've ever talked to someone who's been married for 10, 15, 20, 40, 50 years, they always say communication is the key, man. Sure. And I love that you guys found that balance. And I love that you're the catalyst to say, hey, look, I'll stay home with Goldie. I'll handle the family. I'll handle the home front. Right. You go handle the business, or vice versa. I'll go handle the business. You go handle the home front. But look, we don't need to check in on each other and make sure things are going well because we're a team and we got this. And I love that, bro.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
One thing about business is success. Like everyone starts something with an end goal.
Absolutely.
So how has becoming a father kind of shaped the way that you view success now?
Oh, man.
That's a great question.
Yeah, that's a great one, man. And honestly, success to us is, man, each day, ending good, us playing together. That's success for us, bro. Even with the business, like, this thing is going to do what it's going to do. What doesn't really matter what I do, what my partner does. It's going to happen at home. You know what I mean? And going home, and from shoots, some days I'm on there, and if my son's asleep when I get home and my partner's in a good mood or just like relaxing, I'm like, man, it was great. Right. Today is great. You know what I mean? That's huge, because same thing. I've been home and like I've been annoyed, and she's like, what happened? I'm like, he took 2 hours to go to sleep, and it just didn't. And that's the thing is like, we always tell each other, like, his bedtime is 7:30, 8. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's going to be 9:30. Man. Sometimes it's going to go longer. Let's just go with it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's hard. Like, you want everything to step. And that's fine. But sometimes it's just not going to work out like that. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing we've had to learn is like, don't fight this shit. Like, let's not fight our son in the room for an hour. Let's bring him back out. Yeah. Let him play. Let him enjoy it. Throw on Monsters Inc. one more time. It's not going to hurt him. You know what I mean? And then we're going to go try again, bro. And finding out early was like, I'd be like, man, my son don't want to sleep. And I think it hit us like, maybe he wasn't stimulated enough today. Maybe we didn't do the flashcards with him enough. Maybe we didn't play with him enough. And I think realizing that has been like, okay, this kid needs to play 2, 3, 4 hours a day, whether it's just going in his room, whether it's in the living room, whether it's going outside for walks. He needs that. You know what I mean?
Not according to the textbooks.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
they're like, let him cry for 3 hours.
Man, like, dude, yeah. Like, we didn't do sleep training. He's still waking up all the time, but I'm like, I'll be damned if I'm going to let him cry in there for, 10, 15 minutes. I can't do it. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to grab him, hang out. You know what I mean? Or go to sleep. I'll put you down. You wake up an hour. I'll come back and I'll do it again.
When we were kind of having like the pre-shoot talk, you mentioned how we talked about God a lot.
Sure.
And as men, we don't really talk about like self-care or things that we do to like center ourselves as we reach out. What are some of the things that you do that kind of like center you? Because like obviously you do need a lot of patience.
Right.
You do need something that's kind of like just more than your own will. So
absolutely.
Like, what are the things that you kind of partake in to kind of give you that sense of peace?
Man, yeah. So before my son, I smoked weed from like 16 all the way till he was born. Every day. it started, some days it'd be 1 blunt, some days it'd be 5 blunts. It just really depends. You know, I'm always, oh, we're going to eat, let me smoke. Oh, we're going to watch a movie, let me smoke. And like, no one had a problem. My friends do it. My partner was fine with it. Like, it wasn't like it was like, oh, he has to smoke. It was like, yo, I rolled one up. I was that guy at the party that brought an ounce, and that was just me, dude. And as soon as I had my son, I just stopped. Like, not because my partner said, hey, it just stopped. I remember it was like he was born like 3 days before the Super Bowl where the Rams played here. And I'm barbecuing and I'm smoking, and all of a sudden I'm like, man, is my son good? Like,
I think you told me this story before.
Is everything good? You know what I mean? Like, it made me so paranoid. I've never had that from Bud. You know, and I tried it a few more times and I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I just can't smoke no more. Like, I just can't. So I really stopped smoking. I don't smoke anymore. Honestly, I golf a lot now, dude. I golf at least maybe
I'm
3.
trying to get him into golf. Please tell him he needs to get
Man, I
into
seen
golf.
this thing that said when you turn 30, you either golf or you never see your friends again, bro. And that's like the most true thing I ever fucking have read.
That should be a t-shirt.
Dude, because me and my friends that I've been friends with since 14, 15 years old, like, if that's the only way we could all get together, we're like, hey, like, you doing anything? And they're like, even work friends where they're like, hey, you want to hang out? I'm like, they're like, want to go golf? I'm like, yeah, let's run that. Like, tell me when and where, you know what I mean? So I golf, dude, and trust me, it started slow. Like, you know, I remember the first time I went golfing since my son was born was like maybe 4 or 5 months old. And man, even for both of us, me and my partner, like, I'm holding my phone on me. My partner's like, oh, he's crying again. Hold on, be right back. And now it's like, okay, you're going golfing. And it's like, you go do you and I'm gonna do me. You know what I mean? Like, there is no like contact from either of us other than like, hey, can you turn the music on from your phone? And I'm like, yeah, no problem, you know? And that is huge, bro. I can put in overtime all week. I know I'm going golfing on Friday. I'm like, man, we're good. Like, once I get out there, and it's just, I don't even have to play good. I just want to go hang out with my friends. You know, maybe it's 1, maybe it's 5. And we're having a good time. We're outdoors. We're doing our thing, bro. And that's it, dude.
Playing
you know
good's
what I mean?
a bonus.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Playing good is like, hey, yeah,
fun,
hell
man.
yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. But yeah, man, golfing and man, that's it.
So I really want you to think about your skill set, the things that you've been through in life, your experiences when I ask you this question. Because it's a question that people often ask people, but I really want you to think about your success. You know, Dion kind of gave you your flowers, but I really want you to dive deep into that, because my question is, what advice do you have for fathers that are trying to figure it out, whether they're young fathers, older fathers, but they feel like they still have more in the tank and they want to do a little bit more, but they may be afraid to take a risk, or they're afraid to step away because they want to be there all the time.
Right.
So, like, thinking about all that you're balancing, what advice do you have for fathers?
Yeah, man. I mean, first and foremost is having a partner that supports you. And I know everybody don't have that, bro. You know what I mean? That's easier said than done. You know what I mean? Especially for single moms or single dads, like, off the bat, like, that advice doesn't even matter to them. You know what I mean? And I've always been able to have my partner have my back, or my family have my back. And what I realize is, like, invest. And not only, like, I've told someone, like, we've gotten to the point now where we don't ask how much you're paying. We ask how much time this is going to take. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know how many hours you want me. You know what I mean? Like, not what this is paying. I can't do that anymore. You know what I mean? Because this is something, time is way more important to me now than anything else. And man, investing in yourself with time, with money. There's times, you know, we do shoots and, you know, we have to rent a pier space, $200 for 3-4 hours. You know what I mean? And it's like, we might not sell any of this stuff, but I'm going to do it. I've always been the type that said, I'm going to invest. I'm going to do it. I'm going to believe that this is going to, like, work out. I can't think any other way, bro. And my partner will be like, oh, what about this and this? And I can see myself like almost being upset. Like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell my partner my idea 17 times to the part where she is like whittled down, where she's like, yeah, it's a good idea. And I'm like, you don't think it's a good idea? She's like, I told you with enthusiasm the first time. It was great. I loved it. I go, but you didn't say it the 8th time. You know what I mean? And that is something that's in me where, you know, my partner tells me all the time, you fucking talk a lot. You repeat yourself all the time. And it's because I just want to make sure that, you know, man, all the time. My partner, when we're on the phone, we're on the Zoom, whatever with people, like she's nudging me like, hey, stop, dude. Like you've said that shit 5 times, you know? And I'm like, I just want to make sure like I believe it's a great idea. So if I think it's a great idea, I'm thinking you guys think it's an amazing idea. You know what I mean? And
To follow up, so I watched a sermon one day, and it was about lightening the load. Sometimes when things get rough, you're doing a lot, like a lot. You know, what are some of the things that you had to sort of give up, whether it was habits, friends, whatever? What are things that you had to give up to be able to find this balance? Because I'm honestly learning right now, because I would one day want to do this, you know, and this is a lot to keep up. And as we walk in, it doesn't look like you rushed anything. It looks like everything is not only well maintained, but it's well curated. You know, so like, what are some of the things that you had to kind of give up to be able to do all of this?
Sure, yeah, man. So I've always been a kid. Even when I was younger, I wouldn't go to sleep till like 2, 3 in the morning. I hated sleep, bro. It was something that I just didn't like. I would sit there in bed and count and be like, okay, it's 3 in the morning, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm gonna get a 5-hour sleep. And my thinking was like, oh, I'm only gonna sleep for 5 hours. No, my thinking was like, I'm gonna lay in bed for 5 hours. Like I could be doing a lot more. I'm like 13. What the fuck else could I be doing? You know what I mean? But that was always how I thought, dude. That was always how I thought. That's always like was in my head. Like, damn, this is too much sleep. To now the point where I'm like, no, I don't stay up late no more, bro. And I think that's been like a huge thing. I don't stay up late at night. I wake up early, dude. I see my friends here and there, but you know, the older you get, the more, you know, everyone has their own lives, you know what I mean? And that's totally, you know, you can get over that with sending a meme to someone you haven't seen in 3 months or talked to, and they're like, man, oh yeah, that shit's hilarious, you know? That's definitely been it, bro, and 100% partnership, man. And again, like, you know, that's hard for people that, you know, don't have that. I see single dads and single moms, and, you know, looking from afar, I'm like, damn, that's hard, bro. That is hard, you know what I mean? Like, that is insane. That is hard. Like to just live, let alone like you're on the internet, you're trying to do shit, you're, you know, raising a kid. Like, man, I couldn't imagine doing this shit myself. And I tell my partner tells me all the time, she couldn't imagine doing it without me either. You know what I mean? And
it's funny too, Nick, because you even touched on this. Like even like watching your kid for 4, 5, 6 hours by yourself is tough. Imagine doing it every single day.
Absolutely, bro.
For the rest of their life, or at least until they're 18, right?
Sure.
Yeah, no one's coming. No one's coming through the door to be like, I got this. Like, no, it's my mom did it. Single mom, your mom was doing it. Single. So like, shout out to the single moms out there and the single dads out there too, who stepped up to the plate and really like hit a home run on that. But guess what? You got some gas in the tank left.
Hell yeah.
Go out there. Your dreams, your hopes, like that stuff is still alive, man. It's alive and well. And this is something I want to ask you. I know you kind of touched on it off camera, but like on camera, like goals, aspirations, hopes, like what do you have for Goldie? Like what does that look like? Do you have anything in your mind that you want to see him do?
Man, honestly, you know, it's cliche. You know, everyone says they want their kid to be a good person. You know, I want my kid to experience what things like with family. I want my son to experience what like a full Christmas is, you know, not gifts and shit. Beautiful. A full holiday, a full, you know, a full vacation. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what that's like. You know what I mean? So we're still kind of learning. My partner will be like, hey, like we should decorate the tree. And I'm like, yeah, just decorating. She's like, no, like get over here and put on some ornaments. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like the goals again is just, you know, I want him to, you know, enjoy his childhood, to have fun. My brother has kids. My sisters have kids. I want him to, like, experience his cousins. You know, even, like, you know, I experienced my cousins when I was younger. All of them. Like, I was close to my cousins, and, you know, I always see those memes now. That's, like, for the cousins you spend every night with, now, you know, you don't see them in years, you know? And that's been my whole thing. My goals and aspirations for my son, dude, is just to have a great childhood. Like I said, I had a great childhood, and it was not very ideal or by the book. And I feel like, you know, his is going to be the same way, especially with me and my partner, dude. We are like, I can't wait to do stuff with them because I've never done it myself. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're like, I've never done this shit. I would love to go camping. I don't know how to camp. You know what I mean? Like, camping to me is like renting an RV, or you know what I mean? Like, I've never set up a tent and shit, but that's stuff where I'm like, man, this will be awesome. You know, like, that's the stuff I have, bro, is like us for all to experience it and have a good time. My goals and aspiration is just for all of us to fucking, you know, be as strong as we are right now, bro. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's no stopping that. And man, I've seen my dad go from, you know, from my dad to like my best friend and now to like grandpa, dude. Like buying sacks of candy, bro, just for the kids. You know, like his cupboards are filled with fucking granola bars and 18 different type of sodas, and he only drinks one, but he wants it there. 12 different ice creams, bro. You know what I mean? And he'll complain about it, but he fucking loves it, bro. You know what I mean? And that's the shit I see when my son walks in and he's like, Goldie, like calls him and like picks him up and sits him on the table. I'm like, damn, Dad, like, if you would ask me as a kid if I would have ever seen this, like, no, like, it didn't happen, you know? So it's even like the next day is experiencing stuff like, again, like, I can't give that much advice because I'm still learning every fucking day. Like, oh, this is how it works. Like, this is what you do. You know what I mean?
Well, that's good advice.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, bro. You know, so I've definitely seen it tenfold, bro. I've gone from like not seeing my dad ever and like, you know, him still providing for us to like, dude, I know where my dad's at all times now. You know what I mean? Like, my friend, when they had their kid, he said, when my wife told me we were pregnant, I thought, I'm going to have to know where my kid's at for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? He's like, that's something where I was like, damn, like, forever, I'm going to have to know where my kid is at, bro. You know what I mean? As far as like, where they're at in the world, if they're okay. You know what I mean? He goes, and that made me think like, my dad's known where I've been my whole life. Yep. He's known, oh, I'm in LA. Oh, I'm in New York. Oh, I'm here. He knows where I'm at, bro. You know, and I'm like, damn, that's something I never even thought about, bro. You know?
Yo,
absolutely.
So as we kind of conclude and come to a final, like, ending of this was great. One thing I really want to talk to you about is legacy, right? And what that means to you as far as like a father, a husband, an entrepreneur, all wrapped in one. Where do you see your legacy, or what do you even think that means or want that to be for you, you know, moving forward? Yeah,
man, you know what? Growing up, I always wanted, like, especially like in the city that I went to school with, that my dad lives in now. Like, we lived in La Puente, but we always went to school in La Mirada, and that's where my dad lives now. He lives in La Mirada, and it's a very suburban, fucking white retirement community. You know what I mean? And I always thought, like, man, I would love to fucking be successful to like open up a library and name it after my dad, you know, or get a park or a building and name it after my dad. You know what I mean? That's what I always wanted. And that's kind of where I'm still at, man. I would still love to do something like that. I still want, you know, my dad's never been like, he's never sat me down and been like, you know, this is my legacy, Nick. Like, it hasn't been that. He's always been like, you guys are my legacy. What you guys do, what you guys contribute, that's me, you know? And like you said, like, I know my dad from, you know, buying ice creams for kids, and that's what I do. And I'm going to show my son, like, hey, this is what's cool, man. You know what I mean? Like, this is what's awesome. This is what will be remembered for, bro. I remember when people do nice things for me, so I'm 100% sure that there's someone out there that's like, man, I went to the liquor store one time and this guy bought me like $16 worth of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that's the little shit that, like, I love, bro. You know what I mean? And, you know, I remember when you said you first had your son and you were like, you know, like, you were looking at like wealth and, you know, like stuff like that. And dude, I know my friends that are like, hey, you should open a Roth IRA and all this shit. And I'm like, man, I don't know anything about that, bro. You know what I mean? And I don't take it as a hit. My dad made it so like easy for me just to be myself, bro. You know, he didn't make it so like, you need to go to a job, you need to fucking go to college. He didn't do any of that, bro. My dad was like, I did what I did, you'll do what you do. You know what I mean? And whatever it is, you'll be great at it and I'll support it. You know what I mean? And those words didn't have to be said. It was more so like, when I fucked up, my dad didn't yell at me. My dad was like, oh, okay, like, don't worry, like, it'll be fine, you know? Absolutely. Like, you'll be okay, bro. And I think that's my whole thing with my son is, man, yeah, I want my legacy just to be like a nice fucking person, a good person, like, everyone that's come across me, I hope they're like, man, he is fucking cool, dude. You know what I mean? Like, just on me being myself, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I don't fucking wear the coolest clothes. I don't drive the coolest car. I don't do none of that shit. I'm like, I've totally adapted to my dad. Like, you know, like, I'm fucking driving a 2018 Prius, and my girl's like, we should get a new car. I'm like, for what? You know what I mean? Like, why would we do that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't buy myself new shoes or new clothes just because I'm like, I'm good, bro. Like, I'm good with these shorts I love, and you know, and
The shorts I love, I love
that's just me, you know. And so for my son, I'll make it the same way. I don't care what he wants to do and what he wants to be, and I don't care what he's into or what he chooses to do, man. Like, do it all, and you know, I'll tell him the things like as in like don't waste time. You know, that was my biggest thing. From 17 to 22, just chilling. I chilled hard those years. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, damn, I wish I would have just used that time. You know what I mean? Where, man, I should have been thrifting and I should have been collecting. I should have done all that. And you know, I don't look at it as regret. I'm just like, damn, I was fucking like, you know, going to the gym, coming home, rolling up and watching TV, chilling with my brothers. And again, I don't look at it as a waste of time. I'm just like, man, I was just chilling hard. I wish I would have done something more with that. And that's what I will stress on my son is like, you know, time and fucking stuff like that. As far as like words like, you know, legacy and purpose and all that, I was never sat down and talked to about that stuff. So I don't know how to be like, hey, this is your purpose. This is what you're supposed, this is your, I don't know how to do that, bro. You know what I mean? I'm just like, hey man, you know, today's Tuesday and let's have a good fucking Tuesday, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
I love that.
I'm living day to day, moment to moment, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think about next month or next year, and that's just kind of how I've always been.
I think that's why you're successful, though, and whatever that word means, right?
Sure.
I think a lot of people live in the future or live in the past
Sure.
and not live in the present. And Jess has really harped on me for that. She's like, yo, we got to live in the moment, live in
Sure.
the present. And I really like how you worded that and put it together. Final thoughts, man. Like, what do you have to say to those men out there who are fathers
Sure.
or want to become fathers? I know you're not huge on like giving direction or things
Sure,
like that, but
sure.
just give them something
Yeah.
that they can kind of like, you know, think about.
Sure,
Food for thought.
absolutely, man. Fucking, my biggest thing was patience, dude. Patience, patience, patience. And you think, well, I'm pretty chill now. Like, no, you're not. You know what I mean? Like, patience, man. Like, there's gonna be those days where you're fucking, my partner loves to say overstimulated, man. I haven't heard that word so much in the last fucking year, and it's real. You know what I mean? And that is real. And you know, fucking, there's gonna be times where you know you think, oh, this is what helps the baby, and then the next day that's not what helps the baby. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, if I rock it like this and move it, it works, and the next day that don't work. You know what I mean? Like, patience is the biggest thing. Understanding is the biggest thing. Knowing your child's crying and maybe you can't fix it, but knowing that's them expressing themselves and letting it go. Sometimes I tell my partner, we have to let him cry a little bit because we're so on it all the time to soothe him. Where I'm like, sometimes I think he just needs to cry.
Get that
You know what I
emotion
mean?
out.
Like, we're trying to run to him, be like, okay, you're fine, you know, get happy. I'm like, Lex, we're trying to make him happy. We're trying to make him content. Those are feelings. And so is crying. And like, you know, even your own grandma will come in and be like, you just, you know, do this and do this. And like, hell no. Like, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Like, no, you know, and that was the whole thing. Like, you know, and my son don't sleep through the night still. So he hasn't slept at anybody's house, like, as far as like my partner's mom or anything like that. And it's not because it's like, dude, if he wakes up at 1:30 in the morning, how are you going to put him back to sleep? You know what I mean? Like, that's the shit that we think about where, you know, her mom was like, I've had kids. I'm like, I get that, but you haven't had this fucking kid. You know what I mean? Like, like, this is different. You know what I mean? Like, if he don't go back to sleep, I can't be asleep thinking whether like, oh, is he asleep right now? Like, like, don't trip. We'll have those times where he does Easter egg hunts, and we'll have those times where he spends the night. It's just not right now, bro. You know, and my family, her family, be like, oh, just let him like, you know, learn how to walk down the steps. I'm like, I will, but right now he does not need to know how to walk down no fucking steps. You know what I mean? Like, let me be right behind him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
That's the shit, you know, where again, and it's so far removed from when they raise kids. It's like, I'm sure it is easy, and I'm sure when my son is 15, I'm like, you just got to do this. You know, it's easy at that point. But when you're in it, no, I'm not gonna hear like, this is how you do it, and no, I'm like, no, not gonna happen.
Yo, Nick, thank you, man. Like, we really appreciate you for being a part of the podcast. Thank you for, you know, being episode 3, our first interview. being vulnerable, open, honest, and really sharing your life story, your experience, letting us film here in your shop. Like, guys, if you haven't been to Mom and Dad Vintage, definitely come check it out. One of the best curated, no, not one of the best curated vintage shop in LA, man. Set an appointment with Nick and Lex, like, super dope, man. I really appreciate you for being on the podcast.
Absolutely, man. Thank you guys. I appreciate y'all.